Philadelphia. Well, what an interesting week it's been, huh? If Brandon Graham never says a word, I don't think any of us really care about this week other than yelling at the passing game and probably calling Jalen Hurts a piece of shit. And that's it. That is it. And maybe there is some speculation about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts' relationship based off that answer, but man, it would have not have reached the crescendo that it did. And I am so happy that A.J. and Jalen handled it perfectly, and I'm not here to stand on anybody. If something smells like bullshit, I'll definitely be a guy that calls it out. But wow, did everybody really mess this one up? Including Brandon Graham. So I'm so happy to see that we're landing the plane. Everyone is talking about the Steelers, and I'm going to start doing that right now, because I'll tell you what I've been doing over the past couple of days. This annoying stat that has been going around all week where it says Russell Wilson is undefeated against the Eagles. He's 6-0. First of all, can I call that out for a second? That stat is complete bullshit. Not in the fact that it isn't true. It is absolutely true. The Eagles have a Seattle Seahawks problem. They have not beaten the Seahawks since, ready? 2008. 2008. You were an entirely different person the last time that the Philadelphia Eagles beat the Seattle Seahawks. So I really wanted to get to the bottom of how would Russell Wilson, or how has Russell Wilson, I should probably say, performed against Vic Fangio defenses in the past. Vic Fangio's uprising came when he was with Jim Harbaugh on the 49ers. So it's really hard to tell, like, who's who there, and it was mostly Russell Wilson's like rookie season and at the beginning of his career. So didn't handle it well, and it was obvious. Handfuls and mountains of Marshawn Lynch every time they played the 49ers. The Seattle Seahawks and their defense were just better. They used to kick Jim Harbaugh's ass. But Russell Wilson never really has against Vic Fangio. There have been times that, like, yes, he's gotten off those beautiful teardrop balls that you keep hearing about in Arthur Smith's offense, which is perfect for him. I can see why. It's working out beautifully, and especially that he has George Pickens to throw to, right? I'm watching footage all the way back to, like, when Doug Baldwin was still hanging around, right? So I see a lot of similarities between all of that, and certainly with not George Pickens, he's more kind of like Tyler Lockett type of target that Russell Wilson is used to. But outside of that, it is a lot of hero ball, checkdowns. I got you here on a blitz sometimes because that was one of the Seattle Seahawks and Russell Wilson's specialties against like a cover zero blitz. But outside of that, Russell Wilson needs a ton of help versus Vic Fangio. And this version that we see of Russell Wilson now with the Pittsburgh Steelers is great, right? It's great and all. But, man, it is not that guy that I watched on tape. And that's simply because of age and all the stuff that we've seen through the Broncos as well. You know, and speaking of that Broncos game, just a reminder that Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator for that 70-20 historic game that they put up against Russell Wilson. I'm not even counting that in my analysis because that was just like, holy cow. But the first half of that game is unbelievable. Just put Russell Wilson into a vice grip. So taking all of that into account here and now matching that up with Vic Fangio's history, the Steelers' just overall history when they come play in Philadelphia, I think this has a really good chance to be a bloodbath, and it especially will be on the defensive side. I'm going to go ahead and predict that this is exactly like the Saints game, if not better, just because it matches up so beautifully. Like, if George Pickens doesn't go in this game, I think the secondary, especially that now that it looks like Reed Blankenship is going to play on Sunday, is just going to have a field day with this wide receiving core because it is not good. And the biggest mismatch of this entire matchup with the Eagles defense and the Steelers offense is 100% Najee Harris and that offensive line. They are going to rip through that thing like it's shredded lettuce. I mean, it's not to discredit the Steelers' offensive line. It's good. They have a good running game. But the one plot point for me that makes me very excited is looking at the fact that the Steelers are only running 1.2 yards per attempt before contact, which is bottom of the league. And when the Eagles have one of the top run defenses personnel-wise in the league, and I'm pretty sure they're tops in the league, even though they've faltered a little bit here and there this season, it's going to be a bloodbath. And very much like the season, if you kind of want to understand what it looks like, the Ravens-Steelers game from this week, which I'll put, or not this week, from this year, which I will put into the description of the podcast so you can take a look at it too, it's all field goals and a really boneheaded interception in the red zone. So Vic Fangio versus Russell Wilson and Najee Harris, the offensive line, and Arthur Smith. Holy shit, do I love that matchup. It is great. If you want the other stuff of that 6-0 stuff getting into your head and you're going like, hey, I'm still going to buy into that, that's fine too. I'm just letting you know Russell Wilson, I wouldn't say struggles against Vic Fangio, but he definitely has never played his best games against him, and he takes a lot of sacks. I think there were 6 sacks in one game, 4 in another one, and then it seems like, a lot of offenses started to wise up and use the boundary and the flats screens, all that stuff to kind of combat a lot of what Vic Fangio was doing. So, that being said, I know we have a ton of predictions with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, especially after this fake drummed-up drama from the past 72 hours. So, hold on to that for a second, because I got it too. But what I do think is hilarious and maybe an underplayed storyline, you let me know if that's true or not. Russell Wilson was supposed to be the guy that is going to lead the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and this offensive line, and would have fit Nick Sirianni's teardrop offense the same way it's fitting Arthur Smith. Probably not as effective, if I'm being honest. I'll despite him ruining Desmond Ridder in Atlanta and getting fired from that job, I still will respectfully say, from an X's and O's standpoint, Arthur Smith much better than Nick Sirianni. But I do wonder, and has this crossed your mind, especially with this week, and we're so bitching about the passing game? I see a beaten down Russell Wilson who is barely hanging on, almost like we're getting into that Peyton Manning phase with his last year in the NFL, and you're just like, oh man, he's not all the way there, but the injury has certainly from this season is lingering on, and he's not as quick with his lateral movement, even though it's still there and he can escape the pocket and piss you off and do all that. But I 100% would hate my future right now, probably 100% more, if Russell Wilson is going into this game versus put whoever you want at quarterback versus the Steelers. I would be, after 2 years of dealing with this shit, I'd be going crazy. So I'm going to ask you right now, just out of pure curiosity, and hit me up on Twitter, jump into the Discord, all that stuff's down below in the description as well. Would you, right now, if you could for this game, trade quarterbacks? Would you trade quarterbacks right now? Because there is no fucking way I would. Long term, I think we all know our answer. We're choosing Jalen Hurts, but you let me know if you think differently. There is no way that that I feel better about the Eagles' chances with Russell Wilson as my quarterback. And that's one thing that I would love to readdress from this week. Like, if you don't believe that the Eagles have a good quarterback or a good enough quarterback to improve what we've seen so far in the passing game, to turn that on at some point, boy, have I got a surprise for you in this one, because that leads me right to my prediction. All of this has bottled up to the point where this should be just a statement game from everybody. The defense is handling Russell Wilson, and Jalen Hurts is going to remind everybody why we chose him over this Subway-eating, chump-ass, broken down, holding on for dear life quarterback. Should we replace Jalen Hurts with Russell Wilson? Well, we're seeing it right now, which is why A.J. Brown is going to go 10 for 149 and 3 touchdowns. And everyone else is going to be complimentary the second that Saquon Barkley rushes for 98 yards, because he's not going to touch 100 in this game, but he will have 2 touchdowns. I think this is murder, guys. I am not scared at all. I am ready to sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. This is going to be one of the best NFC clinching games in Eagles history. We're going to remember this one for quite a long time because of what's going to happen next after this. The schedule is basically done and over. You can start thinking about Kenny Pickett coming into the fourth quarter in this one, and maybe even playing a game or two at the end, depending on how this ends up shaking out. But I promise you, all of this dumb worry and anxiety that has happened over the last couple of days is going to look hilarious, will be completely erased. And when we are talking Sunday at MaGerks, and Barney is going to join me in Horsham, I want to do a post-game pod with him, because it has been run the ball year, which is just your catnip, Barney. Secondly, we were supposed to do this preview show together and we couldn't make it work. But thirdly, Chase U and another business that I'm involved with, Wrapping Papered, we're throwing a holiday banger where we're going to be giving out free beers, discounts on beers, maybe some whiskey tastings, and we're bringing a holiday shop with us. I'm going to remember this game forever. And if you're around the Bucks County area and want to go hang out at one of the coolest sports bars ever, that's where I will be on Sunday. But get your fucking head right, because we got to go celebrate. We got to go beat the fucking Lions. And this game is going to show you why. I've got more for you this week. I'll probably see you Friday and Saturday. I just want you to know that this one's going to end fucking 35-17 or somewhere around there. No field goals, no punts, nothing but hell. You know what's coming next. I'll see you Friday.